Hey everybody, it's Minius! Probably the most complicated organization in Mass Effect is the human survivalist or human supremacist group, Cerberus. And Cerberus is complicated for a number of reasons. Cerberus stands for different things, even for those within the organization. You get your bright-eyed, bushy-tailed Cerberus agents concentrating on human advancement like the original crew of the Normandy SR-2, and you get xenophobic killers looking to dominate the other species of the galaxy, like this guy. As it is with anything, the more you know, the more complicated things appear. And we know a lot about Cerberus. They're all over the Mass Effect universe. They're in all 3 games, with a major role in 2 and 3. They are in every novel except 1. They play an enormous role in the comics. They even pop up in the anime. But what is Cerberus? How does Cerberus work? How did they start? And what do they want? In order to understand Cerberus, you need to know a bit about Mass Effect's human lore. Specifically, how quickly things changed for the human race in a short amount of time. In 2147, you could be a normal person, possibly with a very similar worldview of people in our world today. Humans are the only sapient species out there. Humans have complete control over their destiny. Life is simple. In 2148, Prothean ruins are discovered on Mars. That worldview is shattered. Not only are humans no longer the only sapient race out there, but these Protheans were clearly far more advanced technologically. The next year, humans discover the mass relay by Pluto. By 2152, humans are colonizing planets in different solar systems than Earth. In 2157, a previously unknown species of aliens called the Turians captured the human colony of Shanxi, forcing a war. Keep in mind, 10 years earlier, aliens didn't exist. Humans weren't just the top dog, they were the only dog. And although that first alien war ended peacefully, things were now very, very different. And humans have a tendency to react strongly to change. In that decade span, things had changed for the human race more than at any other time in human history. Technology jumped forward 200 years, and by 2165, humanity was subject to the Galactic Council. While that afforded the human race some protection against other aliens, humans were now subject to alien laws. So given all of this, it's not difficult to see how an organization like Cerberus caught on. The organization itself has direct roots in that 2157 conflict, which you know as the First Contact War. The war itself was pretty small, casualties were low, and the majority of the conflict was a naval engagement, with ships firing at each other from tens of thousands of kilometers away. But some of that conflict was very nasty, specifically on the colony of Shanxi. And on that colony was a man named Jack Harper. Jack Harper was part of an ununiformed, possibly unofficial specialist unit under General Williams, who you might know as Ashley Williams' grandfather. The conflict on the ground in Shanxi was going badly, but Harper's unit seemed to be effective. They even managed to capture a Turian general who led them to a lost alien artifact, and this is where things went wrong for Mr. Harper. He made slight contact with a burst from that artifact, was quickly captured by those Turians who took him prisoner to run experiments on him, probably a human's worst nightmare. The swift end of the war granted Harper's release, but he immediately found himself swept up in an ordeal surrounding that alien artifact. An ordeal that brought him back into contact with that Turian general, Desilos, and his brother, who you know of, named Saren, who just happened to be the 2 most anti-human Turian supremacist characters we know about. Harper's experiences with them, and perhaps more importantly, the horror of his experiences from the First Contact War, led him to a conclusion. Alien races were a threat to humanity. Harper then anonymously published an extranet manifesto, claiming that an alien attempt at human genocide was inevitable, and he called for an army, a Cerberus, to defend humanity. Some brush this off as survivalist rhetoric written by an Illusive Man, but Cerberus was born, and Harper became known as the Illusive Man. Now, in theory, a group like this isn't actually any trouble, but the way they began to go about protecting humanity definitely was trouble. Sure, there's some benign stuff here. Cerberus bought up companies and banks, they conducted peaceful scientific research and gathered intelligence, but they also crossed the line into aggression and violence all of the time. Of course, nobody even realized something serious was going on until the 2165 theft of antimatter from the Alliance ship SSV Geneva. That operation went bad and the entire team fought to the death, except for one man who named his sponsor Cerberus. But there's a lot of stuff that Cerberus did that was far worse than stealing expensive materials from the Alliance. For instance, they have a habit of bullying or bribing human officials and rigging elections. They bought an arms company and began selling weapons to pirates in Batarian space and the Terminus systems. They killed 22 members of a Solarian crime syndicate to take over the drug trade on the planet of Trident. They experimented on live Asari captives to see if they could dampen or diminish their biotic abilities, and then use this on an Asari matriarch to discredit her. They experimented on human children, ending up killing lots of them in an attempt to increase human biotic ability. They tortured a Quarian into giving up access codes to the Quarian migrant fleet, and then
they killed our people, infiltrated our flotilla, and tried to blow up one of our ships.
They've killed Alliance admirals, Turian hierarchy figures, members of the Human Systems Alliance Parliament, the Pope. That's right, they assassinated the Pope and got a replacement more in line with militarizing humanity. Of course, a lot of this stuff isn't widely known to the Milky Way community. Their experiments are well hidden, and many of those assassinations were made to look like accidents. But damn, how do you go from xenophobic extranet rant to acknowledged enemy of the Galactic Council? Well, Cerberus has friends in high places. They've got wealthy human industrial backers funneling money to them. Many throughout the Human Alliance are Cerberus sympathizers, and some are even Cerberus agents. 25 years after the First Contact War, we're told that Cerberus has a consistent income of several billion credits annually, which allows them to do crazy stuff like try to take over the Geth, build a new Normandy from scratch, and yes, bring a deceased shepherd back to life. Even with these major projects going on, Cerberus manages to stay under the radar, partially with help of those Alliance officials, but also because of the way the organization is structured. Until the events of Mass Effect 3, Cerberus was a very small organization. It was broken up into cells who don't know what the other cells are up to. Each one of these cells is given a project to work on. People who work in a particular cell can't turn around and bring down the whole organization because they only know the people from their own cell. Each Cerberus cell is run by a single operator. Shepard's crew for the Normandy SR2 from Mass Effect 2 is called the Lazarus Cell and is run by Miranda Lawson. These operators are extremely loyal to Cerberus and report directly to the Illusive Man, who basically is in control of everything. Only about a dozen Cerberus projects are going on at once, so the Illusive Man can guide everything the organization is doing. In essence, Cerberus is the Illusive Man. Enemies of Cerberus can't take Cerberus down without getting to the Illusive Man, and the Illusive Man is difficult to get to for a number of reasons. For instance, many outside the organization aren't even sure an Illusive Man exists. It's believed that the Illusive Man is a title that might change from person to person, or that the Illusive Man is a woman, or that the Illusive Man is a they. The common belief is that the top of the Cerberus leadership leads some kind of double life, and people wind up looking for the Illusive Man in the wrong places, because the Illusive Man has no dual identity. Cerberus is all he does. He runs all of these cells from a secret mobile space station that often takes shelter out in the lawless Terminus systems. So all of this means that the organization is very hard to eradicate. Cerberus cells can only be broken one at a time. Nobody in these cells can identify the other cells. Perhaps only the operator of the cell knows where the main base is, but that moves. In other words, it's not surprising that Cerberus can get away with so much crap, and they probably would have continued to get away with lots of crap if the Reapers didn't enter the scene and get inside the Illusive Man's head. If you like this video, please give it a like. It really helps out the channel. Keep an eye on MiniSGC for more lore and other Mass Effect videos, but for now,
I should go.